Okay, cool. Hi, I'm Ben. I'm from Germany, living in Germany, really boring, I know. But a couple of years back, I actually lived on a ship from OM called the Doulos. And I remember one time we went on a voyage over the South China Sea. And we encountered a huge storm. So if you encounter a storm, the worst thing that can happen is that the main engine of the ship stops working because you want to turn the ship into the storm, into the waves. If you don't do that, and the waves push the ship like to the side, and then the waves will capsize, turn the ship all over, and you will drown. So one time we went on the South China Sea and we had a typhoon coming at us. So we pointed the ship at the waves, and it was really scary. I was at the back of the ship, and at one stage I couldn't see the horizon because the water was there, and the next thing I couldn't see the water because it was only horizon. It was really, really scary. And then it happened. The main engine, and we only had one, stopped. The moment the main engine stopped, the storm, the typhoon turned away, so it was calm. But of course, it was a real miracle, but of course we were looking at, why did the main engine stop? And so we went into the engine room, and it is like a big place, a huge engine. And we were trying to figure out, okay, what happened? And we looked everywhere, and after some time we realized it was like a little hose clamp. Do you guys know what a hose clamp is? It's like if you put a garden hose on a tap and you want to spray like water on the grass or on the flowers, you tighten that with a little hose clamp. It costs like a couple of cents. It's not really valuable, but that one broke and it jumped off, and the fuel hose, where the fuel comes into the engine, just fell off, and so the engine switched off and shut down. And it was really scary, really dangerous. So they put on a new hose clamp, they tightened it again, the ship was driving again, and the storm came back, so a huge miracle. But we do, sometimes on the ship, we do tours on the ship, and we went also to the engine room. And we looked at the huge main engine, and the Doulos was a really, really old ship, like 2 years younger than the Titanic, so really old. And we showed like the long shaft where the propeller is on and all of these things, but we never went to the hose clamp and said, oh, look at the hose clamp, this is really important. But because the hose clamp broke, and it's just worth a couple of cents, this huge ship worth €1 million and over €1 million was in danger to capsizing and being completely destroyed, because just one thing stopped working that nobody thought of. During the rest of the days or the weeks, nobody looked at the hose clamp. Nobody thought it was special, but it was actually very important. And as I experienced that, I was reminded of something that the Apostle Paul said in the Bible, and I'm reading that to you as well in Romans 12, and it's about the gifts that God has given us. If you become a child of God, if you follow Jesus, you get a new life, and you get gifts. On the birthday, when you get born again, you get gifts. And it says in Romans 12, verse 3, "For by the grace given me, I say to every one of you, do not think of yourself more highly than you ought, but rather think of yourself with sober judgment, in accordance with the faith God has distributed to each of you. For just as each of us has one body with many members, and these members do not all have the same function, so in Christ we, though many, form one body, and each member belongs to all the others. We have different gifts according to the grace given to each of us. If your gift is prophesying, then prophesy in accordance with your faith. If it's serving, then serve. If it's teaching, then teach. If it is to encourage, then give encouragement. If it is giving, then give generously. If it is to lead, do it diligently. If it is to show mercy, do it cheerfully." So the Apostle Paul says, we are like a ship, a lot of different systems working together. We're like a body, like our physical bodies, bones, ligaments, flesh, meat, skin, all working together. And he says each part of it is important. Each one of you got gifts. And the Apostle Paul, and I want to encourage you to use your gifts, find out how God has gifted you. And it's really easy, actually. It's try. If you believe that God has gifted you in serving, there's no easier way than to serve. Maybe in your church or a small group or wherever you are. Ask your friends, what do you think? How did God gift me? Where do you see my gifts? and encourage one another and tell them, I think you're really good in that, or you're really good in this. And then use it. Because you're important. He says, so in Christ Jesus we, though many, form one body, but each member belongs to all the others. So we belong to all the others. And actually, like the host clan, we are all important, even though it seems like, oh, the guys who do the music, or the guys who preach and teach, they are the important one. No, everyone is important. And everyone is responsible to keep the ship afloat, to keep the body together. So I want to encourage you, find out how God has gifted you, and use that. Because only then you will grow.